Towson, Baltimore, and week long for the NFL owners meetings in Orlando. I remember when these things used to allow me to go see a little bit of grapefruit baseball. It used to be in the middle of the grapefruit. Now with it moving back a week and the season moving up, I mean, we're ships passing in the night, and here comes opening day, and certainly the tide is a little higher for all Orioles fans here with the acquisition of Alex Cobb last week. Neil Solondz joins us here from Tampa. He is our friend, as well as a friend of ours is very involved in the blood cancer space, with his sister having her life saved on not on the bone marrow registry, but with Neil being a donor. My wife has a donor in Germany. It's a small world after all, and certainly you're lending us Alex Cobb here for the price of $57 million, Neil. We're very happy with Rays fans right now, man.
Well, I appreciate having me on, as always. Alex is one of my favorite people, so, I'm very excited for him. When I got the news, I traded, once it became official, I traded text messages with him. He's someone who's going to be very, very likable in Baltimore, not only for his abilities, but just the way he carries himself.
I would say from the beginning of this, I don't know anything about him. One of the reasons I'm calling you, he came in the next day. I'm seeing him be sort of fun and almost Bob Backlund-y on Twitter with like a WWE shoot promo. Then he sits in the booth and comes off as just this likable guy that you want to cheer for. I mean, I've seen him pitch 100 times, but I've never spoken to him, and obviously I don't have a credential, so I don't go down there and poke around at the visiting team so much. But you're like the third guy I've talked to this week that are all say he's one of my all-time favorite Rays, like literally, and I like hearing that, and I like hearing about good guys because those are the guys you win with, by and large, and that's the first thing I thought about. I'm like, they gave this kid a lot of money, and I don't know how he's going to perform and how the backside of the surgery and all that, but he's clearly a good guy, right?
There's no doubt about that. Look, I spent, before I came to the Rays, I spent 8 years in Durham with their AAA affiliate, so in essence, I came to the big leagues through Alex, or got to know Alex at the minor league level before I got to know him at the major league level. And look, there are some guys, the money changes them, the game changes them. Alex has never changed one bit in all the time I've known him. And I've watched him come through so much as a person, as a ball player. I mean, beyond the Tommy John, remember that he was struck in the head by that Eric Hosmer line drive. He had thoracic outlet syndrome at one point, had to have a rib removed. He's kind of been through it all. And I would say that he's probably as tough-minded as an individual as you'll find. And what I find so likable about him, and I'm sure it came off on that interview he did during on the TV side, was that he's so sincere and honest. He speaks from the heart. There's so many athletes today where you listen to them and you'll hear a lot of cliches and things that are somewhat predictable. And I think Alex will look you in the eye and say what's on his mind. Sometimes almost to a fault, but in a good way that, from a broadcaster standpoint, from a fan standpoint, is hard not to enjoy.
Neil Solondz joining us here from Tampa. He's how many years you been in Tampa now? You've been there a long time, right?
This is now my 7th year with the Rays after 8 years in Durham. So yeah, it's been pretty fun.
You go back to where with Cobb? When's the first time you met Alex Cobb?
Let's see, his first year in Durham. So I'm trying to think. That would have probably been 2010-ish, 10, 11, somewhere in that neighborhood, or 9. I would have to actually look it up, but I think it was somewhere in that neighborhood. So I've known him for close to a decade now.
Well, he's always been a fast-track guy, though, right? Like, I mean, that 13 wild card game, it's been 4.5 years now, still sort of stands out when I've talked to people as being that's the guy. That's why you give a guy $57 million for that kind of effort.
And he was a grinder as he went through the minor leagues. I mean, I still consider him, not as fast-track as, some guys, but that's the way the Rays had developed their pitchers, that, they made sure to take, as much time as they felt was needed, and he went kind of level by level. But I think what always made him special is, and I think that wild card game stands out in terms of the games that, he's pitched in here, because when he didn't have his best stuff, he always found a way to keep you in the game. And I think that's what always I will love about him on the field, is what a a competitor he is. He may end up with, on a bad day, 8, 9, 10 base runners and 5 1/3 innings, and you'll look up at the board and he's got 0 or 1 runs up, because when he needs to make a big pitch, he understands what he needs to do and how to execute in a big moment. And, that to me is his strength. Certainly he's had some injury issues during the course of his career, and I wish him nothing but the best health-wise going forward. But, when he's the kind of guy in a big game, if you're getting to those late in the season where you want him with the ball.
Now, for the Rays, this is just another, guy that got away, right? And in Baltimore, we're all sort of circling the wagons here on the Machado thing. And you guys have had the Longoria situation, going back to Price and Joe Madden himself, and you've had the thing ripped apart and built back up again. This is just sort of one of the guys that's gotten out. But this is a strange time in Baltimore, right? Like, they're letting kids in for free. I know you guys have a $2 program down there. Things that never would have happened here under Mr. Angelos, including signing a pitcher who's had injury issues and Tommy John surgery for $57 million. It is very, very curious, but the times they are changing here, and certainly for New York and Boston, they've changed there, back to where they have young talent, high-priced talent, room to grow, money to spend, all of that stuff. It's got to be tougher to be in Tampa or Toronto or even Baltimore right now, trying to figure out what's going on in this division.
Well, the Yankees put themselves, I think, in the best position of all. I think when you look at the way they're set up, other than Jacoby Ellsbury, they really don't have a whole lot of what I would call contracts with a lot of dead weight on them. And they've put themselves in position to get under the luxury tax, and they have the best, one of the best farm systems in the game right now. There certainly is deep. I mean, I like the way that the Rays have, specifically about the Rays, I like what the Rays have done. I mean, over the last few years, not the one-loss record. I mean, 14-17, they were sub-500, but the last year that Joe Madden and Andrew Friedman were here, the farm system was ranked in the 20s out of 30 clubs. And most have it ranked now 4 or 5. And that's a credit to being able to try and compete as best you can, while also adding prospects through these kinds of trades or getting compensation picks, as they'll get now for Alex Cobb, and being as smart as you can with those. And I think really, I mean, the farm system has to be top-notch to be able to compete. I actually, you mentioned Alex and getting that, getting the 4-year deal. I was surprised only because Lance Lynn only got a year. I thought at that point, I felt for Alex, because I'm thinking, boy, he waited all this time to get to free agency, and now forget getting the big contract. He's not even going to get, more than 1 year, and he's going to have to go back on the market, and Donaldson and Machado and Harper are all going to be there, and it's going to be hard for him to get his payday. I was thrilled for him, and I was surprised that he got 4 years, and the money he got at the beginning of the offseason, I would have said probably 4 and 55, 4 and 60 was what I would have expected, but certainly not at that stage of the game.
Neil Solondz joining us here from Tampa, one of the radio hosts, and does pre and post and all sorts of good things, all things around the American League. And certainly you guys got your hands full. We got Minnesota coming in here. The Orioles have a treacherous April schedule, but you guys come out of the gate, right? Like it's Boston, New York, Boston, right out of the gate. And
first 9 games.
What are the prospects for the step-ups from your rotation? Who is the next Alex Cobb that's going to go out there and get you 30 starts and pitch you to a 3 ERA?
I think, it has to probably be Blake Snell if you're looking short and long term, who's a guy who has to make a major step forward. And if you look at what he did his last 10 starts last year, he was 5-1 with a sub-3 ERA. And, similar to Alex, I love how upfront Blake has kind of been about some of the issues that he's had. Blake came out recently at the end of spring training and said, look, a big reason why I should have gone to the minors and why I struggled last year is because I had some personal issues. And it sounds like they were more like, girlfriend related, that he had difficulty leaving at home and moving on from it. And he said, I was able to figure out during the season how best to handle this. And I'm well beyond that now. And I now have grown up as a person, and we're human beings. And watching him pitch in spring training and seeing his fastball at 95 to 98 with devastating off-speed stuff, he seems like a guy on a mission who could take that major step forward. And you forget that he was the minor league pitcher of the year for all of minor league baseball. He was the top prospect in the Rays system when he came up, and so much was expected. And, I think he's learned a lot. And I think now is hopefully for him, the time to take that big step forward.
He is Neil Solondz. He's doing all things Rays and getting ready for the year. So certainly the Orioles are better with Cobb, right? I mean, better with Cashner, better than maybe the last time we chatted where there didn't feel like there was a lot of hope for the Orioles most of the offseason.
Yeah, I think they're definitely in a better position. I would be more worried about them years 2, 3, and 4 of that deal for Alex, just because of the free agency. I mean, it's Brock, it's Britton, it's Showalter and Duquette beyond Machado and Jones. But I think for this year, for sure, they're in a much better position to compete. For me, if I were to look at their team and say, okay, what are the question marks? I think it's how quickly can Zach Britton come back? And then how good is this, what kind of position is this ball club in when he does return? And then I think probably the corner outfield spots, is Austin Hayes going to have a season where he emerges, even if he starts the year in the minor leagues? Do the guys that they currently have there, whether it's Trey Mancini or Colby Rasmus or whatever combination thereof, are those guys able to kind of hold the fort, before some of those young kids develop? And if they can, certainly there's more than enough offense to be able to put them in a position where I don't think that the Yankees and Red Sox, at least early on, would be able to kind of run away from the pack.
Always great to visit with you, and very encouraging to hear just how much all of you down there in the Tampa area, around the team, really liked Alex Cobb. So we're looking forward to liking him. I'm sure you're looking forward to not liking him 6 or 7 times this year as he's starting against you guys, right?
I traded text messages with him, and one of the things I said, look, I'm going to be rooting for you 100%. I just want a no decision in every one of your starts. You can leave the game tied, but just don't get any W's. So he laughed.
I'm sure he did, but, let's hope the orange wears well for him. Hey, we've not really signed a pitcher of his caliber here off the market to sign up to pitch in Camden Yards against the American League East. It was a little bit of a ballsy maneuver by the team and by him. I'm fascinated to see how it's going to work out, but I am encouraged. There's no doubt about that.
Well, there's one thing that for sure, whether he's pitching good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to get a very honest, sincere Alex Cobb. And I wish him nothing but the best, and I really appreciate you having me on to talk about him and the upcoming year.
Neil, always the best, man. Take care. We'll see you a month from now, April 24th. We see you guys for the first time. You guys come up here. We'll play some baseball, all right?
Sounds good.
Neil Solondz joining us here from Tampa, all things Tampa Rays pre- and post-game down there on the radio network. You can also find him out on Twitter at Neil Solondz. That's SOLONDZNEIL, like diamond. How about that? You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. It's all brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. The morning newspaper also includes the Laurel entries for the weekend, as well as the front of our website has the Laurel entries now. Partners with the Maryland Jockey Club, getting you ready for Pink, the Preakness, the Bottomless Cup, the bands, all the fun, and the racing season. All of my horse racing friends say Justify, Baffert, Derby. That's the whispers. That's what I'm hearing. Nasty at WNST.net finds me 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. Reminder, head coach Barry Trotz joining us on Thursday night at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. Come on by, get swabbed for the bone marrow registry. It's all brought to you by our friends at Freedmont Mortgage, as well as Cole Roofing. And Billy Cole will be joining us later in the week for opening day as we get ready for a big, big week around here. Final Four, opening day, Masters next week, Caps playoffs, Coach Trotz, Wizards going to be in the playoffs. Ravens getting ready for the draft. Big doings. I'm in Florida all week for the NFL owners meetings in Orlando. You'll want to follow me out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all those places where I post. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.